Hello and welcome to day 56 of 100 Days of Tonalism. This is your painter in residence, M. Francis McCarthy, and the study that I'm doing today is by George Inness, and it's called In the Pasture. Those of you that have been following the series will be well aware of George Inness by now, especially as he's my favorite painter, and I've done a third of the series are paintings of his. That's how influential and important he is to me. I've been reading from a book I have on George Inness by Nikolai Siskowski Jr. It's a hardbound book. It's out of print currently, but easily available on Amazon. Right now I've been reading from chapter 4, and I'll go ahead and get into it. The year 1860 marks the beginning of a new period in Inness's life and art. In that year he left New York, which had been the site of his professional artistic life since its beginnings in the 1840s, and moved to the village of Medfield, Massachusetts. George Inness has taken up his easel and left New York, said the New York Tribune. Well, apparently soon after he got to Medfield, he jumped right in, and the book mentions an invoice from a company called M.J. Whipple that had sold him some art supplies immediately. So he jumped right into work, and the book goes on to say why he left the city for the country in New York for New England is not entirely clear. He may have sought a more favorable artistic climate, less touched by the pictorial conventions, rhetorical content, and theoretical doctrines of the Hudson River School landscape painting than New York, which was the center of its activity, and cherishing a tradition of elusive colorism that stemmed from its greatest artistic hero, Washington Allston. Inness may have regarded Boston as a more tolerant of his new art, but he also may have moved to restore his mental and perhaps his physical health. It may have been illness, or it may have been something else. Perhaps a despondency so profound that in 1856 Inness attempted to take his own life. The collector and dealer Samuel P. Avery told of the incident in a letter to Jasper Crosby in London. Inness has been in despair, and in July or August attempted to make away with himself by cutting his wrist open. Tate, who was in the building, prevented a fatal termination to his folly. That this was caused by artistic neglect is shown by its remedy, as described by the Reverend Elias Magoon in a letter to Cropsey. You probably heard that Inness attempted his own life. We cast about for some commissions, and the foolish fellow cheered up a little and did some nice things. Magoon himself acquired 2 small paintings at this time. Avery described others of this kind, somewhat larger in size, as clever sketches. If this crisis was caused most immediately by neglect, it was compounded by other trials and tribulations, expulsion from Italy, economic uncertainty, the stimulating influence of Barbizon art, and the troublesome changes that it demanded. All contributed their share to the overtaxing of Inness's feeble frame and his sensitive nervous organization. It may have been that the first instance of Inness's suicidal desperation. Perhaps he was the young landscape painter of New York whom the Swedish writer Fredrik Bremer, traveling in America in the 1850s, heard of consulting with his young wife as to the best mode of managing for themselves and their 2 little ones. So, it could have been lack of sales driving him to desperation and to killing himself. Inness was a very, very high-strung guy, but it looks like he really came into his own later in life. And of course, we'll keep reading from this book as we go. This is only day 56, so going to be a lot more Inness coming. I could see we're getting close to the end of the video here, and I'd like to thank you for joining me for day 56. Be sure to come back tomorrow for day 57. And if you'd like to see more of my work, you can go to landscapepainter.co.nz or NZ and check it out. You can also follow my blog from there quite easily. So we'll see you tomorrow, and meanwhile, take care and stay out of trouble.